Peter Schiff is credited with predicting the market collapse that led to this devastating recession. He's going to be our guest now. And he's also, by the way, the author of the book, How an Economy Grows and Why It Crashes. Pretty catchy title there, Peter. What's the answer to that question?
Well, we're experiencing the crash part right now. You know, I was listening to the press conference earlier. You know, when we're speaking about a recovery, we haven't had a recovery from this recession. We did have a stimulus, and as we spent the stimulus money, it created the illusion of a recovery.
Let me stop you there for a second,
wears off.
I'm sorry, let me just stop you there, because the press secretary said to all of us, as you said moments ago, that the economy is in a better position than it was last year at the same time. Is it?
No, it's in a worse position, because what happened is the stimulus, right, what it did is it exacerbated the misallocation of resources in our economy, and it's left us deeper into debt. So the economy is fundamentally weaker because the government stimulated it. And the problem is, as long as the government is stimulating the economy, it will never recover.
One person in favor of stimulus is Christina Romer, one of the White House's chief economic advisors, just left that position yesterday. Peter, do you want that job?
Well, no one needs that job. You know, if we shut down all these government agencies and government economists, we could have real economic growth. In order to have economic growth, we need less government. We need more capital. We need more savings. We need to be more productive. But the government prevents all that from happening with the stimulus.
So the White House says they're not actually looking to fill her seat right away. But let's just say, hypothetically, that you step into that position, Peter. What would be your first suggestion on your first day?
Well, the government has to stop creating the problems. We have to understand that the problems with our economy is Americans have spent too much money. They haven't saved enough money, and we need to allow Americans to save more. In order to do that, they have to spend less, and then the savings could be loaned out to businesses so that we can produce more products and create more jobs. But in order for that to happen, the government needs to shrink. So we need to cut government spending dramatically, reduce government payrolls. Government has to be smaller, because right now government is taking all the resources out of the private sector, preventing the economy from growing, preventing productive jobs from coming into existence.
Well, if we shrunk the government, we'd have more unemployment, wouldn't we, Peter? I mean, what exactly should we do, though? I mean,
no.
So you're saying no, if we shrunk the government, you had more people unemployed, where are we actually going to see the job growth that is going to help get Americans back to work?
Yeah, well, we need productive jobs. Imagine for a minute if half the country were employed digging ditches, and then the other half were employed filling them back up again. Everybody would have a job, but we'd have nothing to show for it, because nobody would be making anything. So the only way the economy would grow is if some ditch diggers lost their jobs so they can do something else. We need people that work for government to lose those non-productive jobs so they can have productive jobs. But the reason there are so many people unemployed is because the government is refusing to allow the markets to function. Government creates unemployment. They either do it by putting up barriers that prevent businesses from creating jobs, or they subsidize people to make it more lucrative not to take jobs.
Peter, real quick here. Are you telling us all hope is lost? I mean, is there anything on the horizon? You predicted one crash. Are you seeing another one on the horizon, or is there an actual way to turn it around?
Well, right now, we have to have a 180-degree change in policy. The way we are now, there is no end, because the more damage the government does with the stimulus, the more it wants to stimulate. So it's like they're trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The more gasoline they pour on it, the bigger it's going to get. We need a complete change. And I am hopeful that Republicans will win in November. I do believe that the economy will be in much worse shape come November, so there can be some kind of a backlash. But the question is, what are those Republicans going to do when they get there? Because the Republicans were part of the problem when Bush was president. Yes, Barack Obama inherited a big problem, but he made it worse by following the same policies that Bush followed that created the problem. So we need some real Republicans that understand the government's role in this crisis and are determined to do what's right, which means shrinking government, and we can't have the Federal Reserve artificially propping up the economy with cheap money. We need to allow interest rates to rise. We need to allow assets to find their real price. We have to have markets determining home prices. We can't have the government trying to prop them up, and then we can't have the government bailing out all the firms that fail when the markets try to correct the imbalances.
Peter, when people are talking about uncertainty, I guess you pretty much just summed it up there. That's what they're talking about. There's a lot of questions yet unanswered. Peter, we look forward to having you back again, talking more about the economy. Definitely one of our biggest stories, and we appreciate your insight here.
Thank you. Unfortunately, it's going to get a lot worse for the economy, so there'll be plenty to talk about.
All right. That sounds pretty good. We'll keep talking about it, Peter. Thank you.
Honey, I shrunk the government.